What's going on, everybody in the chat? Just thought I'd go live. Not much going on lately. Oh, wait. Is that Pulsechain mainnet I see? Is that a bridge open? Oh, man. It feels good to be mining all that ink. And no, I'm not talking about the ink from the octopus, whatever that means. I got 3 awesome guests with me here today. We had a surprise visitor in Dixon Piper. What's going on, bud?
Howdy.
We got the resident sloth.
What's up, bud?
Bringing always the purest of alpha.
Oh, that's why I'm here.
even when he just got done taking his finals.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Hey, crypto doesn't wait for anything.
That's true. We called RH and told him not to do it, but the bastard did it anyway. 2 more weeks. My ass. What the hell? And we got the data scientist gigabrain, Crispy.
Yeah.
Crispy as fried chicken on a Saturday night with a mashed potato bowl from KFC.
Amen. Amen.
Nothing was as crispy as kicking the shit out of zombies on Resident Evil 1 back in the day. You feel me?
I'm feeling you. I got it.
Anyways. Well, let me just go brush my teeth quick. I'll be right back. Just kidding.
What the hell?
Oh, it's right. Somebody said that in the chat. I was like,
Yeah.
You should do that. That's my professional opinion. Yeah.
I mean, you do have some, expertise in that field. So any rich Hexicans need a mouth job, just go to Slack.
Hit me up with my DMs.
I'm not sure where this conversation is going.
Shit, guys. Well, I don't know what's happening on the decks. Anybody shooting any trades? What's some good ratios out there?
How about you guys start? Because I'm kind of preoccupied here in a minute. I kind of hopped on last second.
No, I'm interested because we haven't talked yet. So I was kind of wanted to get a word in your ear and just kind of see what you're thinking.
For things to buy?
Well, just, general price action stuff that's interesting. Anything you're noticing?
Sorry, I'm so preoccupied. I don't know. I'm thrilled with how everything's going. I think
you're down, bro.
I mean,
it's got backdoors.
Yeah, no shit. Pulsechain sitting around sacrifice price. I think that's a win for people could have sold off into Hex by now or whatever. I think Pulsechain sitting at sacrifice price is good. I don't think it's any surprise that PulseX is down 50% or something. I think give it a month, it's going to be fine. Or give it a week or a day even, it's probably going to be fine. Hex was sitting really low for there a minute, a couple cents. I think it's going to be fine too. I think it's just a matter of time before it's worth what eHex is worth.
Yeah, I noticed that eHex was trading at 2-to-1 ratio to pHex for quite a while there this morning. And I was actually kind of excited because I went and market bought some eHex yesterday on the dump.
So what's y'all's take on I'm personally, I'm impressed with how good it's holding up. We talked about this backstage, but I was one of the people, I wasn't saying it's going to go to zero, but I did not think it would hold up as good as the pHex side. And at the moment, it's sitting better than pHex. So that does surprise me. But
it's an ever-changing landscape, last I checked, let's see if I have so many tabs open. I hate that. Anybody got a solution for all the charts?
I know on Twitter you're gonna see not Hexcan people and stuff shit talking how Hex is basically owned to zero on a chart. I mean, it doesn't look good that it went from 12 cents back to 3, but if you look at it from our perspective, the fact you have copies now and the fact that thing is holding at 3 cents, I think is pretty damn impressive. I never thought it would have held at 3 cents there.
Yeah, so there was some interesting things that came in on the chart here the last few days. Here's the eHex price. This candle here was printed by a gentleman or female. We're not sure because it's just a wallet. But this dude brought in 1,000 ETH market buy, bought up 53 million Hex. And the only reason why that's even possible is because all of the liquidity that filled up back into the pools. And so we have this here kind of liquidity meter built by Crispy Man. And it's telling us that there's about 175 million in these pools currently. In terms of Hex on the east side. And anytime you get around that 180, 200 million is usually when a big buyer bear will step in and absorb 30, 40, and in this case, 53 million. So that was interesting. And then, let's see, fast forward a little bit in time. I think it was, let's see here in time. It was about a day later, somebody came in an emergency end staked 28 million Hex and market dumped it. And the liquidity pools run out of liquidity right about here. So that wick brought us all the way down to about 1.65 cents and was immediately bought back up within a half hour. I don't even think it took a half hour, probably took 15 minutes because I had a order sitting down here and it didn't even trigger. I'm triggered. Anybody else catch that dip? Let's see.
I did not catch it, unfortunately. Almost caught the big Hedron dip, but I was just a couple hours too late to my computer.
I think it's probably still on a pretty good price. Hedron's still kind of ranging down there. You can get a billion Hedron for $880 right now.
Yep. And I'll back up what Dixon's saying. I'm very impressed that Hex has held 3 cents so definitively, at least for this period of time and a period of time of uncertainty, where it's liquidity is basically being removed, and we don't know which copy is going to be the quote unquote valuable one. Yet there were still people willing to make large buys at this fairly decent price level. And there's one more thing I was going to say with that. But I also think it's a function, and this is something Crispy Man can talk more about. Just the fact that Hex is getting rarer and rarer. So we've just seen people nuke their bags, or at least their wallets, just tens of millions of Hex market dumping over and over and over. And that can only go on for so long, and can only push price down for so long before the market just consistently absorbs it over time, both in terms of buys outweighing sellers, and also when the pools fill up too much, you get those large buyers who are scooping up just a ridiculous number of millions all in one market buy. So it's like what I'm seeing personally is redistribution at a reasonable and strong level amongst ecosystem-wide uncertainty, which to me is bullish.
Yeah, Crispy. Here's the E-hex P-hex pair. So currently it's back closer to 1-to-1. Do you see in your future a world where, I'm asking you to be a real visionary here, brother, where E-hex and P-hex trade at parity indefinitely?
Well, I'm no Dixon Piper, but no, I actually I do see that as certainly a possibility. You know, we'll be penny for penny, or digit for digit, probably not. But will it be at some sort of parity level? Yes, I do. And I'm going to give you my expert opinion, since that's what you asked for.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at Pulsechain and I see hex at less than a penny, I think, how do I buy that?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that at least the people have been involved in hex for a long time, that's what they're thinking. And I think a lot of other people are thinking the same thing. It's a good way to generate yield over time within that system. And so I just see it as super bullish, right? That we'll see parity like that. But I'm also in the camp of not believing we're going to see like EHEX drop off the face of the earth. Notice it didn't drop off the face of the earth already. So what does this mean? Is not that strength like super important to what's going on here?
It's a great point, and it's fun. It's good that you bring that up, because here we have, my famous fair value channel, and the price wicked below, just as it did back in Big Payday. Here we have this huge inflationary event, 30% more supply. Here we have this huge inflationary event, double the supply.
Mm-hmm.
And we're having the same kind of price action coming off that low. And so I think for people to ask for a better price than that wick low on Ethereum side might be, unguided.
Well, I'm not going to give it to them, right? And yeah, of course, that's real personalized, right? Like as if I could. But the thing is, right, is that sentiment, right? We're talking about people who are in there. I mean, there was a pretty good amount of emergency instincts, both on both on Ethereum and now on Pulsechain, right? Because they're starting to take place there. So it was a good amount, but it's nowhere near doomsday scenario. It wasn't like 80% of the people said, "Hey, I'm getting out." I mean, what do we saw some pretty hefty penalties for a couple days. Yes, so some people are taking the risk that they could emergency end stake and want to get their. It's not because they think that they need to be out of hex. What they're trying to do is get over to Pulsechain with more value.
Right. This guy that did dump this bag right here was like 28 million. I checked the dude's stakes. The dude's projected to have 360 million hex at the end of his ladder had he never sold another one. This is after he EES and dumped. And he pulled out $1 million, and likely he wanted to take that economic energy across the bridge to Pulse to try to capture value somewhere else, right? Short term. So, yeah, it's good points. I think there was a few payouts in there that we have like almost 9 hex per T share yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
So the guys that are going to win the hardest out of this are the guys that take a risk and trade something and do well, or the guys that sit on their hands and have been staked since back here, that are going to stake through this whole period.
Miners only, baby. That's what I'm thinking. Miners only. Kind of a play on words, right? But so my sentiment on that is that as we grow in adoption, we're not going to be able to maintain our previous culture exactly the same way, right? Previous culture, getting all the way back to the beginning, was very hardcore miners, right? Mine, I'm going to stake. Yes, of course, we have many other people involved too. But what's happened with it is, as we add more people in from outside of the hex universe, right, we're not going to get just people who are interested in passive income waiting. You're getting people who are interested in trading and swapping and every other thing you could do out there. And so you're just going to have less people doing the mining, which only makes me more bullish for miners.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, on the topic of yielding, mining, whether that be mining hex or otherwise, I mean, one of the big conversation pieces that between Sloth and I lately has been obviously LP, liquidity providing, and the potential there to even outpace a 15-year stake. But then when you factor in what you can do on Pulsechain with this incentive token and the kind of price action we're seeing on incentive token, I think that's something that, shouldn't be left unsaid.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, I know not everybody could have done this, and I'm certainly not doing it. But if you were able to accumulate, 100 at a time of the ink, you're able to print 100,000 hex.
Yeah. I don't know.
Right,
Is that
so
still
it's
the
fine.
rate? Let's see. Let's see what you can get for an
How
ink right
much?
now. I know that the rate has dropped by almost. It feels to me like the rate of ink that I'm making per day, even though the amount of LP I've provided has been consistent, has got to be down by like at least 60-70% from what I was getting initially. So right now, one ink is 1,000 hex. 100 ink is 100,000 hex, obviously. So that's I know people were making
That is hot.
hundreds of ink a day, right? And
Mm.
you're
Well,
basically getting to market by p hex at no. It was free. It's free hex. Yeah.
Are you guys? I'm asking because I don't know. I have never farmed ink on testnet even, so I have no idea. But are you guys saying that there's a case that you can LP to outperform hex stakes because the ink token is so profitable, or
Mm-hmm.
because the liquidity providing itself is good?
Well, I mean, it's doubly yes. So if you go to the liquidity page here under the trade tab,
Mhm.
and you just put up some Pulse versus Pulse X.
Yeah. I got liquidity now. I just meant like long term. Are
Yeah.
you like when you're factoring this to where it outperforms the hex stake? Is it from the ink token being so profitable, or what?
I think it's because the rate of inflation is so consistent, fixed, and rare, right? So what's going to happen is big liquidity providers are going to have a large stake in these farms, and they will not need to sell the ink. So the ink will get redistributed into smaller, or less and less ink will be distributed to more and more people. So it's like a compounded effect where it'll just become scarce and it'll become like a rare asset. Imagine you had 40% of all of the farmed ink, and you could also have deep enough pockets to buy the dips on ink. That's what's causing this ink price chart to rise at such a rate, because this thing only inflates at 1 ink per second. So that's what, 31 million a year or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, people that are in crypto want millions of things. And if you're getting 40-50% of the yield, I'm not saying that any one player is getting that right now, but I'm saying that it's a possibility. Just the basic rule of all of the economic energy usually ends up in the same place. Like the 10% can runs everything. So under those conditions, in an asset that inflates at a fixed rate over time, ink is really going to be a great play for compounding your returns, as long as you continue to win in terms of percentage of the farms. And I think this is a moving target, obviously, because there are going to be new farms added.
I'm just speaking out loud because, like I said, I haven't farmed ink on testnet. But is there, when you're factoring in how profitable it is to farm ink, when you do this long term, are you figuring in the price appreciation of the impermanent loss and what you could have made not having the impermanent loss?
Exactly.
Are you assuming that everything is going up or not?
Right. That's so if you're going to do this, you need to factor that in. And if we're using the Pulse X Pulse pair as an example, you're losing value in terms of pulse, because you're basically losing your pulse and getting more Pulse X. But I anticipate that over time that these will trend up together. And so, for example, let's say Pulse against the dollar right now is doing this, and Pulse X against the dollar right now is doing this. Right? So you're getting more of the thing that's losing value, and you're losing the thing that's gaining value, but you're still getting you're getting fees of both, right? and you're getting incentive token. So it's a tough calculation to make. But if you run the math on what you got going, I think essentially at some point, PulseX will, on a long enough time frame, catch up because of things like the buy and burn feature and others. And this initial distribution phase of, 140,000 wallets having PLSX and only 40,000 having PLS. And you need this Pulse asset to transact, so all the new money coming in. Eventually, this will rebalance out, right? And the ratio will get, somewhere, they'll find homeostasis somewhere else. So I anticipate that, let's just say that this is now years of time. Pulse goes up, it'll come down. PulseX will go up, it'll come down, and they'll just oscillate like this eventually on a long enough time frame.
Yeah. I always like to kind of mitigate that calculation of impermanent loss risk with like portfolio management, where it's like if you just take a percentage of your portfolio that you're okay with getting the lowest amount of price appreciation with between the two coins, then it's like almost you can forget about impermanent loss and focus on the passive income that you're getting from it, both in terms of fees and the incentive token, especially with the incentive token, because you can accumulate other coins outside of the pairs that you're LPing on to earn the ink token. I was saying behind the scenes right now, one ink gets you like 1,000 hex basically, more or less. And so if you think about how much hex it takes you to get about that much a day, it's a decent amount. To put it in perspective, you need about 500,000 hex to mine 3,000 to 4,000 hex every 30 days. So if you're earning one incentive token a day, you're actually outperforming rolling hex stakes if you're swapping that ink into hex, assuming the ratio stays the same and doesn't get worse. And you're doing that. Yeah, yeah, there you go, guys. A little bit of alpha for you guys. And you're doing that with two coins that presumably, we want to hold for the long term. So yeah, maybe one is going to not perform as well as the other, but hopefully you have some of those coins liquid on the side to get that price appreciation. You're earning more hex on the side, and you're getting that base level of appreciation on that small percentage of your bag in the same place. Maybe it's not the best possible thing. Like maybe you might have plus minus a little bit of profit if you just held and bought and sold right at the right times. But this is a really great way to accumulate value without having to be super active and without having to be super knowledgeable as well.
And again, as it's been playing out so far, Pulse and PulseX have traded in a relatively tight range. So, I mean, if you put in liquidity early on, you probably put it in around 3.5, and now it's at 3.7. So you're really not suffering too much right now in terms of impermanent loss.
Yep.
Well, what do you say about the fact that so many people think the ink token's a down-only coin, only there to be sold? What do you think about that?
I just think there's not enough of it. That's what I think. And I think in order for you to get it, you need to put up increasingly more amounts of liquidity to get it. So the fundamentals to me says that it's valuable. Like you have to take risk to get it. So then to sell it, you're taking additional risk. You're giving away money that you made,
Mm-hmm.
Flip side to that is if you're buying it, you're buying other people's risk. Like you're buying the reward that other people got for risking. That's a way you could look at justifying buying the incentive token if for some reason you were looking to accumulate it.
Got a question here. What's a good ratio of P hex to Pulse? Let's see. PulseX.
It was like 110 to 1 last time I looked.
Yeah, I know for before the bridge went live, we were talking about
117 to 1.
Is it? Yeah. So I mean, 100 to 1 was like the base, but there's two arguments here. One is that in the early days of Bitcoin, in the early days of Ethereum outperformed Bitcoin. So we go back and look at the ETH Bitcoin chart. The comparison here is that Pulse is ETH and Hex is BTC. And that in the early days, this layer 1 EVM got invented and it just shot up against Bitcoin valuation. And so there's an argument here that 101 won't stay, and that you'll actually go down, and that'll be that you'll get less and less PLS for your hex. But I would say that this period of time is nothing like nowadays. So I don't know if that same logic applies, because there's just so many other options out there. And that once people have their pulse bags set, you know, Hex is a beast of its own that can run like crazy. And we've seen Hex destroy Ethereum for years now. And you look at the Hex ETH chart, and it just continually outperforms ETH. So from, like, let's say these lows here, you're up still 5,000% against Ethereum, which is pretty good. So there's arguments in both directions about which, I think, short term you could maybe see Pulse outperform, but long term you'd definitely count on Hex doing really well, and probably you can increase your Pulse bag with Hex. And so I guess ask a Hexakin, they're probably going to say Hex.
Yeah.
I already said that.
Yeah.
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 Well, here's my thinking on that, right? Which is an intangible. Well, maybe it's tangible in that we can discuss it, but not tangible that you can exactly measure it. The most immutable, least friction in terms of potential loss of yield is Hex in the Hex ecosystem. So I kind of see it as like the heat sink of when I get tired of messing around with all these other things and hit or miss, saying, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and stake. And it may not be everything. It might not be everything, but okay, I'm just going to go ahead and convert some of my Pulse over to Hex and just get it staked and start accruing yield, because it is probably the least effort, least worry method that I have available to me.
It's like,
Is my math right? Do you need 4 million Hex to get 150 T shares for a day stake? I got 27,000 times 150.
Yeah,
It's
that's about right.
4.5 or 4. I'm sorry, 4.05.
Yeah, it's a little higher rate than that, but yeah, 27,000 is good round off.
So like then, if it's 4 million Hex, you divide, if you're going to do max length, you divide that by 3. So you need 1.3 million Hex staked for over 10 years for the same yield for 1,000. What is it? 1,000 per day.
mm-hmm.
So this system in its nascent age is going to allow you to outperform staking, which is why we're going to see a continual decrease in the amount of T shares in the system, which is going to increase payouts for those already staked. So if you were already staked, you're winning, and if you have liquid bags to trade the short term, you're gonna compound your returns. And I think the end goal is to maximize the T share count long term, because eventually, if this thing takes off and is mass adopted, then there's just less opportunity for quick gains. But the best gains will be in the guys that got in early on Hex when it was cheap, and then they can just roll stakes. Like imagine $1, $2 Hex,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of money that you'll be able to accrue from the system.
Well, that's why I go back and you asked originally, what I thought about the pricing, right, between the two. Knowing what you just said, knowing that I'm aware of this, right? Why wouldn't anybody who's in Pulsechain at least be looking at 1 cent Hex and go, might be something here, at the very least between 1 cent and 3 cents, there's 2. Why wouldn't I be going in that direction? Not to mention the increase we're probably going to get with more adoption and also price appreciation over the course of the cycle.
100%.
Question:
Some
the
news?
USD.
Yeah,
Oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I saw people posting in there. Apparently, Trust Swap is supporting Pulsechain and bringing over some liquidity. So
Yeah,
Cool.
looking like, yeah. So that's nice. We're getting some third party people coming in.
you're going to see a lot more of that stuff, right?
Oh,
So my favorite movie, right? Quote from that movie: "I like money." So anybody's ever watched Idiocracy, they know that. So let me tell you, green is green, right? And so we were talking about this last night too. If there's a way to do it, these people will start jumping on board, because why not? Why wouldn't they want to do the processing? Of course, the third parties in some cases, you got to be careful. But nevertheless, I think, yeah, you're going to see a lot more.
mm-hmm.
you swap between eHex and pHex? Yes, you can. Richard tweeted the contract address for eHex. You have to add that to your token list on Pulsex, and then you can swap it. It's like it'll look like this. If you get the right contract, it has a little question mark next to it. So one eHex is worth 1.12 hex, but that's a very volatile and changing chart. So let me see if I can find it. It's here.
Yeah. My thinking has really come around to the parity or long-term parity. The more and more I'm thinking about it, the more and more that seems fairly reasonable to me. And it's actually the same argument that I use for like why like Hedron and Icosa will probably follow Hex as it goes up over time, or like the delta between the value of Hex and how much value you can get, how much t-shirt exposure you can get via Hedron and Icosa becomes so crazy that like people are just compelled to go that way. Well, it's like if the ratio gets so too far out of whack, where you're gonna, if you could put $1,000 and get 10,000 on one chain, or put $1,000, put 100,000 on one chain, at some point that's just going to compel people so far to bring the other one with it, whichever one moves. And I feel like even like a 2-to-1 ratio is still pretty drastic, even especially as you get to higher and higher prices.
Sami's got Link stuck on the bridge.
Pain Link all the way.
Oh man, that chart's a freaking riot right now. Stable coin on Ethereum.
Yeah, I agree with basically like 99% of everything Sami says. I agree with, but I think Link was probably, in my opinion, a one cycle moon coin. It'll probably just have Bitcoin and ETH gains, is my guess anymore.
Don't say that. I feel that I feel like if that is true, then it's also true that Hex will underperform.
Nope.
The reason why I say that is because, let me see if I can pull this Link chart up. So
they lost a lot of community and they lost a lot of narrative, is my opinion.
We have way
better.
Better.
The chart looks great there, but the way it topped out, I didn't like last cycle. It topped out like 8 months before everything else did. Like
Verse, funny you say
the thing
that,
I did not like about it was Verse ETH during the bull market. Yeah, it ran till November of 2021 in the bull market, but Verse ETH, that thing got annihilated ever since like 2020. You basically lost all of your ETH holding Chainlink to 2020. I think that's why their community is not what it used to be, is because they got so worn. I had like 5 Link buddies, and they all capitulated the bottom and they walked away. And granted, that's how bottoms are made, but their community, I don't believe, held together like the cult-like awesome following communities do. That's my opinion. I mean, I don't know, obviously, but if I was a gambling man, I would think it probably takes the path of XRP, Lumens, all that stuff that in the second cycle, it goes up, but you turn on the Verse ETH chart or Verse Bitcoin chart and it gets annihilated.
Yeah, it's this whole conversation of, this thing potentially doing this next cycle, and then that's it. And comparing it to XRP, it's interesting. I have a theory. Don't go take bets on this, but if this favors well for XRP in terms of the SEC lawsuit and they get a favorable outcome, this is all leading into a potential for a lot of dinosaur coins to actually make tremendous moves.
I'm gonna have to disagree there. I think what's more likely than it going up on the SEC case is if they do win that case, which I don't think they're actually going to get a win. The SEC is going to win the case, but it's going to be a very, very soft charge. It's going to be a very soft fine. On paper, it's going to be a loss, but in reality, it's going to be a win for XRP, just from the looks of it. But they'll put some kind of stupid charge on there that they got to pay a little tiny fine just to say they lost on paper. But anyways, it's a win for crypto. And my opinion is it's good for all of crypto that they technically win that case.
Yeah.
But I think that's more likely it's good for all of crypto, and it's a sell the news event for XRP, because it's obviously looking like there's a lot of evidence they're going to win this case. People would start front running that already. Why wouldn't people already be buying? Why would they wait till the day they win the case to start buying? They can buy that shit somewhere. And I think it's a dinosaur coin. It's out of buyers, and I could see that being the capitulation if it probably gets like a 30% pump on the news that it's going to have a favorable ending to the case, but then no follow through is where I would see the capitulation from it. Everybody loses hope when it doesn't follow through on 30% candles. What I'd see like the most likely situation being for XRP.
I don't know. I was kind of waiting for Hodar to come back and bring it to 10,000 US, but maybe not. For those, a lot of people probably don't know who the hell I'm talking about. Some of us know.
I get the idea.
Well, there was a guy for a long time, super bullish on XRP and on Reddit. He went by Hodar. And he did one of these disappearing acts, which led to a lot of people believing, he said goodbye and everything, but believing that maybe he was one of the upper echelon types of people. But yeah, we'll see. XRP, who knows, right? I mean, I kind of feel like you do about it. I still have a very small, tiny little bag, that I picked up at 8 cents, 12 cents, and just been sitting on it for years. Sacked most of it for Pulsechain, woohoo! But I still got some left, just on the outside chance.
Yeah.
Never empty my bag fully.
It's like a game of revolving chairs, man. Like all of crypto is just chasing that next gains, right? And so I do understand like that, and like, we'd have to enter a new era of crypto for this thing to do those types of moves. But in my mind, if it's not out of the question that XRP can go 5,000% from these levels. And what it would entail is that it get relisted on all the American exchanges. It wouldn't just happen.
5,000x,
5,000%.
A lot of
for a price in a
get you at like 20 to 30.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, they were mistreated. XRP was mistreated, and that doesn't mean I'm like advocating for it, telling people go out and buy them. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what was the purpose of blocking all of us, all of the people that were involved in it, because of the FUD on the SEC, right?
We want them to win for the betterment of crypto.
100%. And in fact, I would love to be able to onboard as many XRP people as possible. And a lot of people don't even know we have this EVM out there called Flare, that's out there. And it was a airdrop. And it's just like Ethereum, it's just like Pulsechain, except it's not Pulsechain because there are not that many people. And you don't have this much action. But there are a lot of people stranded over there. And it'd be neat to be more inclusive with some of these other communities to at least operate jointly on some stuff. They're welcome to come into Pulsechain as far as I'm concerned.
You know how we all thought Dogecoin was complete crap back here at 0.2 of a cent? Like if you look at the linear chart, this is what it looked like. And then that happened. I think it's like, and this is just it. It's like this happened, and then everyone's like, okay, that's it. It hit 10 cents, but then it did this. It's like. I don't rule anything out in crypto.
Hey, go to that spot right before it takes off.
Right here?
No, yeah, you can do a little bit further than that close. Like really close, like as low as you can get before it really takes off. That's where I sold. Right there.
Right here?
Yeah, right there.
So
I said I had enough X's and that's it. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why what do they say? You gotta be on one end or the other of the bell curve.
Yeah.
You either got to be out here or out here. But if you're anywhere in here, you're not going to make the mad gains.
Yep.
Yeah.
You either hold it to zero, you hold it to the moon. There is no in between.
Yeah. Well, we saw Suzu hold it to zero, so I'll follow in his footsteps. Yeah. Cardano's another one that's, anyways, I don't know how much, we probably shouldn't spend too much time on these, dog shit coins, but because we have all the hot stuff.
I know, dude.
Hey.
Well, I'm thinking I don't even have time. I'm going to probably forget that I even had these things because there's so much going on now.
Yeah. Got like what, 10 charts to watch?
I'll give you guys something else that they're talking about EHEX right in here. There's in the terms of the liquidity, like you're basically set up. One of two things is going to happen. Either this range between 2.86 cents and 4.5 cents will be accumulated, and whales will buy enough of the supply that it pretty much eliminates the rest of the dumpage. or some big guy will step in and sell down through this gap, and then your new price range is somewhere from 0.5 of a cent to 1.29 cents on this chain. And currently we're seeing that in terms of EHEX and regular hex or PHEX, however you want to say it. Now PHEX is in the lead, and EHEX is at a discount relative to PHEX. And is this not just so fitting that they're oscillating? Okay, so it did go down for a second, and now it's back the other way. So, and I guess we're back in good territory. But I'm kind of having a hard time letting go of EHEX. I think that it's going to be underappreciated for a little while. But remember that's where all the economic value is over there on the Ethereum chain. Without Ethereum in the bridge, like where did we get our value from early on in Pulsechain land?
So you're saying there's a chance. There's a chance to get 1 cent EHEX.
Yeah, there is. There's a chance to get sub 1 cent EHEX, but it's risky because we have this cool chart called the Hex Mirror Multiple Chart that gives us some detail on when's good times to buy Hex relative to the 200-day moving average, in short. And do you want to just kind of touch on this chart, and I'll just kind of use the cursor?
Yeah, sure. So this is the Mayer multiple, and you can go look this up on underneath the Bitcoin as well, because we use it under that cryptocurrency. But developed by Trace Mayer, I believe his first name is Trace. Anyways, based on observation and analysis, if you look at the 200-day moving average and you compare that to price and you kind of track that, what they found is that when you hit a ratio of about 0.8 or lower, you're almost guaranteed in the next cycle coming to be in profit. And you could even buy that ratio all the way up to the 2.4 level. And then once you got to that red line, which is 2.4, if you just stopped your DCA and waited for blow off tops, and then sold somewhere above that line, and then you would just wait to come back down to the green again to reaccumulate, you would be like in a cyclic profit generation mode, right?
Yep.
Buy when it hits green and sell above the red.
This is something that all of us here take very seriously, and when we're developing material for like how to explain the best times to buy and sell, this is the types of tools that we're using to give that kind of suggestion, right? And like this was a very short window when we were above the red line, when we were on our way to 13.5 cents around testnet V3. So if you didn't capture that window, and then you can see back here around big payday last time, it was also a very short window. This was really only like a week and a half maybe for both of these times. And so until you're in the extended bull market where you can actually hold that red line as support potentially, you're really looking to sell above that red line.
Asked this Eliza Barnley. She says that's a nice story, but Richard was the biggest liquidity provider for Hex the entire run. Do you have chain analysis? Do you have chain proof of that? Because I know a lot of people who provided a lot of liquidity the whole way up. That's how a lot of whales exit their positions without having to nuke the market before the 50 cent run. That's how a lot of people get out of their positions. So I wouldn't. Is Richard a liquidity provider? Yes, probably. Yes. But there's a lot of other people providing liquidity. A lot.
Yeah.
From here on out, like, I think this is a pretty cool chart you guys got up here. But I think, like, for example, when like the ETH Fair came out and ETH, what was the other one that came out? The ETH Forks.
ETH Proof of Work.
Yeah. ETH Proof of Work and stuff. I mean, I was pretty highly convicted those would have zero value, because the way I see all these working is deciding what chain is going to have value is social consensus. And basically, to the way I see it, whoever the whales have more influence on the social consensus than smaller people do. So you can have people on Twitter saying, hey, we're gonna go play on ETH POW, or we're gonna go play on ETH Fair. The problem with that is you can go play on those and you can start providing liquidity and you can get a ton of coins for very little value. But here's the thing. As soon as you put value into that market, you are exit liquidity for a whale that doesn't believe in that in that that fork, whatever that ecosystem. And I would love to see a month of price action in the E side before having my conviction on it personally. You know, like I was leaning towards like I would rather own all PulseX or not PulseX, P-Hex than both. But at the same time, like if the market does say that, hey, this thing is going to have value after 30 days, I think that's pretty important to take into consideration. You know, I mean, it's social consensus. If it doesn't get nuked to half a penny, that's telling you that there is whales that do see value in this chain still.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, but there is just so much economic energy over here that is buying actively right now. So that's your first signal. Go ahead, Crispy. I'm going to set this chart up.
No, I'm just agreeing with Dixon because I'm feeling the same way about it on many of those points. One of the points about Richard being a liquidity provider, he's never said that I'm aware of. Maybe he is one. Doesn't really matter. But I know I'm not one of those guys, the big guys, right? But I know a ton of people have been providing liquidity over there. So it's kind of a misconception. So there's a lot of value with a lot of different people. And why wouldn't they want to continue to make money? Right? Now, I guess that they could go like 100% in Pulse Maxi and be like scorched earth. I'm bringing everything over to Pulse. But why?
True.
They don't normally do that.
You still got $5 million of buy volume in the last 24 hours over on ETH side, 736 buys to 490 sells. And like Hodpro was saying in the chat, like she's got a friend that just bought EHEX on the dip. Like this is run of the mill, you know, it's going to look worse before it gets better in terms of like the look of it. Because if you look back to Big Payday, when you look at the ETH fractal, the Hex ETH chart, you broke out, but then you went back into the channel for like an extended period of time before breaking out for good. And then it was a rapid ascent.
We've also gone on longer so far, though, double the time too. Time gets you out of the one thing that gets you out of a bear market is time. And we have been in this for 2 years. That's enough time to get the weak hands out. I mean, in my thought.
Do you think that, so with that in mind, and because buy pressure right now has to be distributed across two chains, do you think it takes twice as long for this to play out then?
I think we will know in 60 days if the ETH side is going to have a future.
Yeah.
Have a better idea.
Yeah, sure. I 100% there. You know what I would have thought though, Dixon? I would have thought that if that was what was going to happen, we'd have had a lot more exits.
Like I said, I thought we would have been under 3 cents by now before, like my thought process before the fork. I thought there would have been enough people get that screenshot, and then it's the floodgates opening, and then it's where does the buy support come in? I'm impressed it came in at 3 cents. I'm not going to lie. I did not think it would come in at 3 cents. So like it's already performing better than I thought it would. But at the same time, like me personally, I would rather wait 60 days, see how it goes. And
what if I told you needed to wait 400 days?
That would suck. There's going to be a lot more. I mean, the unfortunate part is if it's going to wait 400 days in crypto, if the rest of the market's going up and that doesn't go up, it's not going to make it. That's why this thing needs to know in 60 days. Like there needs to be social consensus in 60 days.
Oh yeah, but here's your
thing is going to go up or not.
Here's your 60-day pump. Remember, this is valued against Ethereum. So let's hypothetically say Ethereum's going to run up to 3K. And ETH and Hex is going to run up with it, but it doesn't make a new local high. But let's say we go to like 15 cents. Like this was 13 cents and this is 15 cents because ETH is going to move or something. I'm just giving you hypotheticals.
If EHEX stays flat, if EHEX stays flat for 400 days, like you're saying, I would even say 200 days, maybe even 150 days. And the rest of crypto in general goes up. If Bitcoin's up, if Pulsechain's up, ETH's up, it's done. Because people are here for the gains and they will rotate out of shit that's not gaining. When the rest of the market is running away, they won't stay in it. But as long as it's going up with the rest of the market, like, yeah, it probably will have a future. What
about like all the money that you're making staked on? So you're saying that it'll kill the buy pressure?
I think it will. I mean, because if it doesn't keep up with the rest of the market, yes, it's going to. People leave their bags that aren't moving to go into bags that are moving. That's just how crypto works, you know?
I hear you. I mean,
and the granted, like we've gone down for 2 years. Like now is the time to start going up again. I'm full bullish on everything in crypto right now.
Mhm.
And if crypto's going up and it stays flat, it's going to be really hard to make that case to keep buying spot on market.
We've actually seen, so I'm going to try to tie this all together in terms of the share rate. We're actually seeing like all-time low number of T shares in the system. So there's 9.9 million T shares in the system. So we've actually cracked 10 million and we're still going lower. And I think that's because the APRs on all this other stuff on Pulsechain is so good, you know, trading it or farming or yield providing, that people are forgetting about the T share right now. And I think that's almost by intent, because the guys that got in early and are still staked are earning bigger and bigger yields, and perhaps them, as long as, and with a few new whales, can protect or hold price long enough that, you know, you do get some kind of a resurgence later on after that other stuff starts to slow down a little bit. But this is the first time in the history of Hex where, or not, first time that I can see on this entire brown line here, where staker adoption is actually heading downward.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just go from my personal experience. I had stakes come out in this last few month area, and I didn't restake anything because I didn't want to be married to the chain. I wanted to wait a couple months to see what the community and what the social consensus is of this chain. Like, if I would lean towards it doesn't perform as well the rest of its life, but at the same time, like, I have no conviction of this. So I was just kind of in a holding position of what I'm going to do with my Hex over there. I'm not going to stake it preemptively and not be able to unlock it if the rest of the community deems this unvaluable. And I think that's probably what a lot of other people had in mind, that they're just going to sit there in a holding pattern and wait to see what happens.
100%. I agree with that, and that's kind of what we've been calling for a few weeks, is probably a couple months by now. Which is that they're, you know, the going into a bull market, why would you lock yourself out of your money when all these new things are coming online and potentially miss out on compounding your returns in the short term? It's definitely an interesting discussion for sure. What's Sloth think about all this?
Yeah, I'll give the bullish case from like a fundamental perspective. So I think generally when I hear bearish arguments on like why eHex won't survive, I think sometimes it doesn't take into account like how valuable like the Ethereum network is overall. Like, so the Ethereum network is the most valuable smart contract platform in the world. That's where most of the money, or I guess the second most amount of money in crypto is in general. And the people who have large stakes in that system, if we just assume that they for some reason believe in the use case of Hex, which is like a decentralized CD or a decentralized trustless passive income, then they have some incentive to use it as a mechanism to compound at the very least their Ethereum with a percentage of their bag through, for example, rolling stakes. So because there's already so much going on Ethereum, and the fundamental use case of Hex, in my opinion, is sound, there is incentive and motivation to keep it alive because it can be used by those players to continue to compound, which is really not possible to do with just Ethereum. And so but that's the counter to that is that's a purely fundamental argument, right? It has nothing to do with liquidity, it has nothing to do with social consensus, which are really like the baseline things to determine whether a coin is successful or not. I just see so much value in the Hex protocol and in the Ethereum ecosystem, where it just makes sense, where there is a separate store value outside of Ethereum on it, where
It's
you
also
can
like
earn
a
yield.
redundancy layer for like any kind of things that can happen wrong on Pulsechain. Like, not saying something will, but it's just another layer. And so I'm going to say something kind of controversial because it's important. I don't think Ethereum or Pulsechain is the Amazon of blockchains. I don't think we have it yet. I don't think we have the thing that's going to eclipse and bring the whole world into blockchain. I don't think we have it yet. I don't think it's been created. I think we have money-making machines, but I don't think we have the thing that's going to bring in mass adoption worldwide. And that's good because that's opportunity. But we have like
no, because everything still works, even though like everything still works like dog shit, dude. Granted, it's better than a lot of chains, minus the congestion at first. But like just today, I was trying to get one of the guys that works in my office here. I was trying to get him set up with showing him, okay, well, you got to put this contract address. This is the ETH USD. You don't want to go into the other USD or you lose all your money. And you don't want to go into this one or you'll lose all your money. And I was like 27 disclaimers I had to say. You don't do this button or you lose all your money. I had to say you'll lose all your money like 27 times. I shouldn't have to do that with finance.
Giant freaking minefield. Like everything
exactly.
in
it is a minefield, and that's why like I'm pessimistic and skeptical about everybody and everything here, because
no, that's good because it means we can make a shitload of money from everyone else's failures. But is that really the goal of blockchain?
No,
long term.
No,
so
like
this is the way I see it: is the smart guys are going to accumulate all of the resources on Ethereum and Pulse, and then they're going to migrate that economic energy into what is going to be in the future be the Amazon of blockchains. And I don't have the answer for that yet. I don't think it's been invented yet, but this is like a 15 to 20 year runway where the amount of mad gains that's potential on these two chains combined is unmatched. I think Bitcoin can go to $1 million, but all of the action is going to be on ETH and Pulse, and eventually they'll die off, but right now we're in a position to make a lot of money on this new opportunity. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that.
I'd agree.
Yep. I'm with you on that, buddy.
You freaking factor in like some of these other things, like the fractionalized stuff, like perpetual hex stakes, derivatives with icosahedron, Maximus DAO, and all these other layers and LP, and like we're creating this ecosystem out to be amazing and beneficial for many people. And, I'm just looking forward to seeing where this all goes.
We are all speculating, and mainly speculating, but sometimes pseudo gambling on what is going to have value in crypto. But this stuff's so far away from adoption, because look how many people that are in the Richard Hart ecosystem, I guess you'd say, that have lost all their money already in 24 hours. Like, this can't be a legitimate financial product for the world if people that are in here speculating are losing all their money, all of it, their entire lives. How is the world supposed to come into this when we can't keep people who have been on the test nets from losing all their money? It's too hard right now. The gap, the barrier of entry is so difficult and so hard at the moment. We're far away. I believe in it. I believe in it happening one day, but we're so far away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess the flip side to that is that's probably why there's so much opportunity, right? Because there's so many minds and there's so much difficulty and barrier to entry. That just means there's less people there, which means there's more people to come in later.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, but I hear what you're saying, man. That's for sure. Can't accidentally dump all your stuff into USDC thinking you have 500 grand and realize you have $5.
Right. And no insurance, no customer support. I mean,
yep. All you can do is go on Twitter and say, hey, I did this. Can you help me? And everyone just says no.
Mm-hmm.
It is pretty sad, though. It's unfortunate.
Yep.
So, yeah, we covered I think we've covered those in depth. Let's see what else is going on in terms of charts to look at on Pulse. Oh, just something to tell you guys, like the stable coins that are wrapped and bridged over the bridge are not all trading at the same. They're not all trading for $1, which is really strange to me. It's just a function of not having enough liquidity. Mm-hmm. So let's see what DAI is worth versus like a USDC.
You just arb it, right? Like buy the wrapped USDC, bridge it back over, and then you have because you have less USDC and you get the same amount on the way back. Wait. Trying to think. Yeah, if you put in 1,000 DAI, you get 1,300 USDC. You can still bridge that 1,300 over. You have 1,300 USDC on ETH, which is the real thing.
Right. Isn't that interesting? There you go, guys. More alpha by the Alpha Brain.
Yeah, I don't get that. I was looking at that before the stream. I just don't understand why a 40%.
You can't get enough of the liquidity. So like
that makes sense. Yeah.
I think it's like there's like $5,000 of USDC over here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think if you increase that swap amount, right, won't the ratio push against you pretty hard, or will it?
Let's see.
Will it stay?
Let's try doing $10,000.
once you go over 2,000, it starts amplifying slippage pretty aggressively.
Yeah.
I see that here now. That's,
$2,000, you lead about 5%
lose
on
1,000.
everything I've seen.
$3,000, you lose 1,000 basically.
Oh wow.
Or you lose $800. So that's why this is happening. So
That makes sense.
I'm sure there's people that's getting wrecked on this. Like, okay, I got the right stablecoin contract, but now I don't know how much liquidity is there for me. So I'm going to market sell 10 grand.
I almost did that. I was going to bridge over some USDC today. And then like, as I was looking through the stuff, it was weird. And then I don't know if it was, I think it was you said like, yeah, it's like trading at less. Even the wrapped USDC is trading at less. And when I was like seeing how much hex I would get for like a certain amount of USDC buy, and then I did it with DAI, I noticed it was different. And I was like, well, that's weird. And now I realize like, oh, I can't bridge over USDC because then I have to bridge it back to get the asset that I actually need to bring over to Pulsechain. So I had to swap it to DAI first on ETH and then bridge the DAI over to make sure I had that same dollar value. So actually kind of like, even if you're on top of it and you know all this stuff, something could just slip because you just assume the bridged copy is 1-for-1 because that's what a wrapped token is. It's a 1-for-1 copy essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and someone was commenting that ink is still moving, like it's forming support on the local high, and so that's super bullish for ink. Like,
What are
dang.
people market buying it with? Oh, is that DAI I
It's
see up
small
there?
amounts of DAI, like we're talking like $40, $20,
Mhm.
$30. So this is very illiquid. You're really trading. This is insane, but you're trading an $840 pool. So it really is kind of meaningless, right?
Ballin'.
Because eventually, let's say this pool of DAI gets up to 10 grand, somebody's going to come and mark it down 50%, and then we'll get our. This is for Crispy Man. That's when you're going to want to. So when we get up there, bud, get ready to hit the sell button.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's funny.
Your guys' opinion. So Pulsechain's give or take roughly at SAC price. I think it's up a little bit right now.
Yeah, let's look at it.
I was happy to see that. We're at least at holding the SAC price for Pulse.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, looking good.
Might be
Yeah,
up
this
like a
is like
2x
a-
right there, maybe, or something. You guys think once liquidity comes, a couple whales will exit, or do you guys think all this bridged in money just moons it?
If anything's going to run abnormally, it's going to be this one
Mm-hmm.
early on, because there's 82 grand here tied to DAI. I think that's kind of telling us the story. This is going to be the one to watch early on.
Right.
And I think for what was SAC 1001?
Roughly.
3 zeros
Yeah.
and 1.
All right, so you're up 126%. If you caught the low, granted, not many did, because you couldn't bridge in any assets, you'd be up 600%. I mean, that candle there was $3,600. So somebody put in $3,600 and is up 600% potentially.
Yeah, there was a little moment there, like last night. Obviously, none of my stuff was going through the bridge yet, but it was down a lot.
Yeah.
There. When last night, I'm like, hurry up.
It could be a question of who gets there first, the buy pressure or the sell pressure. Because if enough
that's
gets
what I'm
there,
wondering. I could see it going either way. I could see there being like 3 people that sacked 5 million each that just hate Richard now for the outrage stuff and aren't thinking clearly, that just say
Yep.
fuck it and dump everything. But I also see 30 million sitting in a bridge that might counteract all that. It's kind of hard to say.
Yep. It'll be fun to watch at the very least. But we do have at least one big wallet, the D01 wallet, who it's a dumper, and it'll probably be exiting to come with some significant sell pressure, especially as we get closer to double-digit X's at some point, where
Mhm.
like the money becomes like a lot. Like we're gonna have to flush some people out before we start talking the high double digits, triple digit X's that everybody wants in the ecosystem for sure.
Right.
Somebody wanted me to pull up the PulseX chart, so I'll pull up PulseX against Pulse. So this is an inverted chart. So this is PulseX is actually gaining against Pulse right now. It's up 10%.
What's the ratio? Like roughly 3.75 to 1 still, or is it better?
I I got to do some inversions here. 3.6, 3.79.
Okay.
So here you go.
I'm impressed with that too, to be honest with you. I thought opening up, I was estimating closer to like 6-1.
So Vic, if you're listening right now, he's from our group. This would be the time you'd want to pull, because you'd have closer to your base rate coming in. You know, I was advising people to go for ink right away, because I saw no risk. I saw no risk in pairing Pulse and PulseX, especially on a long enough time frame. This is actually surprising to me to see PulseX perform so well right now. I think it's because it was at such a big discount.
Yeah. That makes sense. What was I going to say about that? Oh, yeah, I really see my LP positions, especially the V2 ones, as like a completely separate pool from my liquid holdings, personally. Like they're like a completely separate bucket, almost like its own coin. Like I see the liquidity pool token like as its own individual coin versus like how much of each of these do I have?
Mm-hmm. We're gonna give you a quick little snapshot.
Hey,
let's see.
I've seen those slides before.
Yeah, we'll show them one slide. That's not the right one. Let's see here. File open. Snapshot into what we were doing for the market making course. By the way, we're going to be running that again in June, so keep looking out for that.
Keep an eye out.
But yeah, this is kind of what we're talking about. We're talking about like how you need to view your cryptocurrency holdings. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can view them, and it's all mindset based and taking calculated risk with percentages of your bag. Right. So you can see like a lot of different things on screen. You can see that like in the middle, you have those core holdings. Like you have some Hex, PulseX, and some Pulse maybe, or so you have some Bitcoin, some ETH, some USDC, or some USDT, you know, or a mixture of the two. But that's like your core holdings that it's an accumulated bag that you're holding on to for the long term. And then outside of that, the types of things you can do with your core position is like what Sloth is saying, right? Where you have these LP positions that have different meanings. I don't know if you want to extrapolate on that at all.
I gotta go, guys. I got people at the door.
All right, man. Well, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
See you,
thanks.
Dixon.
It's nice to meet you, man.
Yeah,
nice
you
to
too.
stream with you.
Take it easy.
Yep.
See you, man.
Yeah, I mean, just with the LP bag, that the way I frame it, and I said it, I think at the beginning of the stream, is that you're foregoing the maximum gain to get the baseline gain, the base gains of the two coins you're LPing. So if there are two coins that you believe in long term, and you don't really care if you have more of one than the other, and you don't care if you have more of the one that's going to do worse over time, then like those are the coins you want to put in your LP bag, and then like strategically figure out, of those core coins that you have, are any specific pairings incentivized somehow through like an incentive token, or are any specific ones have a significant amount of volume where you can extrapolate a lot of fees. And then, that's pretty much it. That's how I view it. And it's a way to translate some of those coins, a percentage of those coins, to passive income, where you can accumulate other coins. PulseX is the perfect example right now. Accumulate ink, sell the ink for Hex, or accumulate the incentive token. Right? You're taking a plus minus loss.
Accumulate Hedron by staking Hedron and getting Icosa, and then you put the Icosa into a Icosa stake, and then you're getting Hedron and Icosa back. So, and you can layer this stuff out depending on the assets you hold.
And you can even automate it one day when Tetra comes out. Always comes back to that.
The one I like to remind people is like, okay, you could write a script or use somebody's script that says, anytime Gwei is under 20, mint my Hedron. And then the script will just do it.
Mint my Hedron, and then you say like auto stake it or even auto sell it, whatever you want.
Got a question here. So did I screw up by using ETH in the bridge? I have a few ETH that I bridged over to Pulsechain, still waiting for it to complete. Should I have done something other than ETH? There's no reason why one coin will come through faster than another by my understanding. It's just, you're in a line right now waiting to get your transaction pushed through.
I'd say stay away from USDC for now, because it's not one for one. Like wrapped USDC is not $1. So don't do USDC. If you're going to do a stable, do DAI. And if you have USDC, wrapped USDC on Pulsechain, bridge it back, swap it into DAI, and then bridge it back over before doing swaps into any coins.
Thanks for this info, Runskis. He's saying that there's parity between wrapped Pulse on ETH and Pulse on Pulsechain. That's great news. I don't know. I'm assuming that that's actually what's going on. Ink to the moon on Pulsechain for Crispy Man. EHEX to the moon forever. And PulseX is the dark horse that runs and runs.
It's like a poem.
It is. How did you bridge DAI to Pulse side? You use pulseramp.com and you deposit DAI, and then it'll show up in your wallet after 48 hours or some amount of time on the other side.
Yep.
Is the eDAI to PLSX ratio on PulseX accurate? Yes. Right now an eDAI is trading at the value of $1. So let's see. I don't know if I have that chart up. Let's see, DAI.
I think the bridge is getting some upgrades or some patches to make it run through a bit quicker. So that was good to see from Richard.
Heck yeah.
Crypto Winter Bowl, I see. Has anyone tried to bridge EHEX? I have, and I bridged it over within the first hour and just got it like right before we started the stream.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Where I literally put in the chat, like, man, I haven't gotten it yet. And then like 30 seconds later, it popped in my wallet. I'm like, oh, nice, cool.
Yeah, I was gonna do it last night, but it was gonna cost me like $20 to or
Yeah.
$30 to send it over, and I didn't have enough ETH at the time in that wallet, and I was just like, I got bored, so I was just like, because, and actually, this is a good time to bring this up. So there's a huge opportunity in hex to hex pairing. So if we look at the pools, this is the one that I kind of am interested in providing for myself until the OA comes in and puts 200 billion against 200 billion. And then I'm going to be like, all right, well, that was fun while it lasted. But assuming that the OA does not do that, it's got a 64% APR. Not bad. And there's
all those numbers have come up nice.
4.2 million P hex to 3.8 million hex currently. By the beautiful magic of Uniswap V2 code, X times Y equals K.
You want to learn about that in depth, come to the course. I got slides. Oh man. Actually, I like that. I like that. I haven't looked at that info page quite yet. I should take a look at that.
Yeah, this is starting to update. So, and the other thing I'm looking for is like when they're going to add farms. So I'm looking for them to add farms sometime in the next 7 days. And I anticipate that they'll make an ink farm. And that's another reason why to the commentary we had earlier in terms of why would you not just dump forever the ink token? It's because, the APR on this rare accumulating asset is going to be insane on the ink farms. So it's going to lock it up even more.
Yep, 100%. I'm excited for when those PLS single-sided staking pools open and we can earn with liquid PLSX, and then the other pairs, like you were saying, that get incentivized. I think personally the hex-to-hex one will definitely do it, except when you just brought this up, it made me think of that. If the OA for some reason does put in 250 bill on each side, then maybe it won't be incentivized, because why incentivize a pool where the OA has all the money or all the disproportionate amount of all the funds, that doesn't make much sense. And if you want to get the incentive token out to the community and not siphon it off. But if not, hex to hex pairing, hex to pulse pairing, pulse X, all of those I could see as really good LPs to earn ink. Especially if you consider the math I was doing on how much say hex you could get if you earn one incentive token a day.
Somebody asked if Icosa is a good buy. What chain? Right now it's in a decline on Ethereum. I'm
It's
sorry.
Yeah, go
no,
ahead.
it is. It is.
Yeah, it's 14 cents on Pulsechain right now. I mean, some of the best deals that I've seen so far are in like the Hedron Icosa coins. If you're looking to accumulate like a dolphin size position, for example. So if like you weren't able to get it that well, or if you were close to getting it on the ETH side, but you were like just out of reach, or like you want to try to go for one of those positions, like they're severely discounted on the Pulsechain side. So if I go to Hedron right now, you can get a bill for about $500 on Pulsechain. So $5,000 gets you 10 bill right now.
Yeah, dude, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros, 5, 4, 5, 3. Yeah, on Hedron.
Yep.
Icosa, 15.6 cents. So what's that? What's it like? 30% off compared to the price on Ethereum.
Yep. And all the staking pools and auctions are all up for Hedron. HSI auctions and all the Hedron Icosa staking pools are up. So if you want to establish a position on that side, the opportunity's there.
Looks like this is in a nice uptrend right now on Pulsechain, the Hedron chart.
Nice. Yeah, well, I guess that makes sense with EHEX, PHEX being 1-to-1, but EHedron, PHedron being somewhat off right now, about 2x off. There's more of a gap for Hedron to fill.
Shoot, do we have the token contract for the Bridgeton?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me see if I have it here. So I have the Icosa one. I don't know what the Hedron one is. I think you could type in Hedron there and get it. Yeah. But yeah, lots of opportunity out there.
Yeah.
Definitely no shortage of. If you're looking to accumulate coins and you have like a certain framing of how many you want to get, and you believe both chains are long term going to survive, go for the cheap one. Get the most coins you can get. I know some people have bridged over some Hedron, so it's out there somewhere. I actually haven't found it myself, actually.
We'll get it here.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Maybe I'll bridge some over myself just to get it.
I'm sure the Hedron Icosa chat's got it, or maybe Sloth's group.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. I'll go in the chat afterwards, see if I can find it. I'm sure they've teased that one out already. But yeah, Alex, new stuff. Rocket Pool fork, and what's a marketplace where you can put what's is up for sale and put them up both for like a individual sale and an auction. And the currency that will be used to do those buys and sells and those auctions is going to be Icosa. And then Alex is toying with the idea of using Icosa as collateral for the validators that are in the Rocket Pool fork protocol that he's forking. So there's going to be some native utility demand for Icosa, which is going to just kind of feed liquidity into the system and get those prices to areas where, say, HSI buybacks make sense. Maybe even Hedron borrowing directly makes more sense. And he made a little hint that it's just the first of a handful of things that he's building. So this was kind of one of my speculations early on in Hedron and Icosa, where they really seemed like a base level foundation to be able to build on top of and funnel value into. And we're starting to see the first iterations of that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what utility he builds in. Obviously, hopefully, burning of Icosa or anything about making it more scarce is good, because then you're getting rid of extra inflation because of the, once it's been passed through, some of it needs to go.
Yep.
All right, we're coming up on an hour and a half. We got about maybe 10 minutes left.
Sounds good. What else you got for us?
I don't know. I was just going through the. We had this earlier. I forgot to come back to this while Dixon was with us, but let's see where we're at in liquidity on the east side. For Hex, about the same. EHEX is I'm gonna try to move lower here. We'll see if we get a big buyer to come in, support price. Kind of like a technical level here to check for would be 2.9 or so. 2.8 is where the liquidity stops on the 1% fee pair. So somewhere around here, just get some limits in if you want to catch any kind of wick act. Like this can be a quick sell down all the way down to like 1.5 ish cents. So if you're interested in catching that after about 2.7, 2.8 cents, that's where you're going to start to get that fear, and it's going to potentially push people. I do see this big brick of it's 20 ETH locked here on the 1% pair. So maybe this guy keeps, it's kind of like a support in the price. It gives, somebody a chance to accumulate more. There's still some ETH behind price as well. So that's all looking pretty good in my mind for either direction. In terms of like where I think the EHEX price goes, if it plays out like big payday, I think we could be seeing, we could go try to test the top of this band sometime this year and beat that local high, potentially this summer, end of summer, as we kind of work our way up and out of here. Something like this. So keep an eye out for that. Be looking for that, and obviously if these things meet parity and you get some action from the OA in terms of binding the liquidity, then they will go together. As Pulsechain rises in price, everything else attached to it will rise as well. Yep. It's not an accident that we have all of Pulsechain, trading on Uniswap V2 where all of this action happened. So this was Uniswap V1. This was Uniswap V2 mostly. And then Uniswap V3 came in somewhere around Pulsechain. And so Uniswap V3 single-sided is kind of like a...
I don't know. Do you see a pattern in there?
We're not dealing with that anymore on Pulsechain. So there's fundamentals have been restored. We just need the liquidity to get binded.
Yeah. I know the general sentiment is that V3 is better than V2, but like the more I've thought about it and like understand how the two system works, I don't really like. I think V2 is really underappreciated for the fact that you can have liquidity on from 0 to infinity. I mean, we saw the hex price be suppressed around the 7 to 8 cents for a while there, just because there was no liquidity to the upside. The momentum was there, the buy pressure was there, but the liquidity wasn't there for it to be able to run sufficiently. So if you at the very least, had a base layer of V2 that had a significant amount of liquidity to spread out across all pairs, you could even with a V3 system in place, you could still mitigate against the easy ability to manipulate price via the whale's ability to manipulate price as efficiently.
Matic running hard against Paul. This is Matic.
Can I bridge it over to Polygon?
Wait, this is the native one.
The forked one, right? That's hilarious.
Matic, yeah. I've seen some POS, some Pulse Doge clone. So you got Pulse Doge, you got Pulse Doge coin. There's so many. Pepe on Pulsechain.
How's it doing? Hey, Pepe 1-2. Let's go.
How is Pepe?
It's coming up. It's coming up, but if there's only $24 to trade there, so if you want to turn $1 into $35, take your chances, guys. Oh gosh, glad to have you back.
Did you say if I want to turn $35 into $1?
You can buy Pepe on Pulse today. Oh boy.
How about that for pure alpha?
Is this wrapped in Hedron that I just found? I don't know if this is the right one, guys, but if it is, I'm just going to pretend it is for a second. I'm going to add it.
No, that's the forked copy.
Oh, whoops. Oh gosh, I got so many. Wait, so why does it have a question mark next to it? All right. So don't rely on graphics. The interface is lies.
Yeah. At some point, all this stuff has got to get cleaned up, just so it's a little easier to figure. Well, actually, I think it'll probably happen as liquidity rolls in. The real pairs are going to get all the liquidity, and they'll bump up to the top.
When devs. Just kidding, Devs. We appreciate you. Anything else you want to look at there, Crispy Man? Any ideas, thoughts, feelings, emotions about, Zen, like being as much reckon?
Crispy, I think this is your segment, buddy.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Campaign against the campaign that we're setting up against Jack Levin. I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
Well, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Yeah. What doesn't kill you burns a lot of gas.
Yeah. I will say it was a special kind of irony for him to, try to clog up the chain and then ask Hexicans for more pulse to clog up the chain some more. I don't know. It was just
Who gave him a million pulse? Who gave him a million pulse? I want to know.
I need to know what Ocean Breeze knows. Why does he know that ink is going to go way above $26? Why?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
Ocean Breed. Give us the alpha, buddy.
I need to know.
I'm bullish, man. But
Same.
why is he bullish? I want to know why he's bullish. Is he providing?
Muse Bandit says because he bought some. That's how he knows.
That's usually
That's
how
good.
it works. For
That's
all
good.
of us, right?
Oh man.
There's
Yeah,
no reason. I bought it. It's
I
going
bought it.
up.
That's what he's like. Yes. I'm pretty optimistic. I still think the dust is settling. We're figuring out where everything's landing. We don't really have a clear picture of how things are going forward yet, but it's definitely history in the making. And I think we'll be talking about this kind of stuff for a while, years to come. So I'm excited. I'm enjoying watching all of this.
Yeah, man. You know what comes to mind? Into mind for me. Looking at 8-bit. He posted something. I think. Yeah. Okay. I'll contact you a bit. We'll talk, Pepe. But I guess take this opportunity because there's a lot of people watching, right? A lot of people going to see this stream. You don't have to do anything right now. You can take the slow roll, right? It's likely if you're figuring out right now that there's some opportunity somewhere, it's probably not going to be there when you get there. So anyways, I'm just urging caution. Be careful with what you're doing. Make sure you're checking your numbers, your addresses, that type of stuff. I almost made 2 or 3 mistakes. Very easy to do it. Look here's Axis. He worked the charts all the time. He's having trouble even identifying some of the right tokens to be looking at. So just be careful. That's all.
Yep.
Not like be scared. Just be careful.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yep.
Yeah. Err on the side of inaction, but move forward as best as you can. Make moves as best as you can.
Yeah, and I'm probably an odd duck compared to you guys and everybody else, right? Since we went to bridge, I haven't done a single transaction to do any transfers or swaps. So.
I approved my transfer and then didn't send it. So what does that tell you?
You're indecisive.
Ran out of ETH gas, bro.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Where'd the ETH go, Axis?
Where did the ETH go?
Fucking play.
Damn it, Jack.
All right, guys. Well, this is some hot action. I appreciate everyone for joining us this afternoon. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled shows in June. I think we got one more big test coming up for the Sloth Man. But yeah, expect the occasional once or twice a week stream from me. And Crispy Man, as always, thank you for coming on. You have some great expertise in all these fields. The data man himself. I always key off your stuff. So make sure to go check out Crispy Man's Patreon page if you want more. And look into Hedron.com. I hear it is a pretty good site for checking minting velocity. I'll just pull that up quick so you guys can see that. We've got a new chart that actually measures as Hedron gets minted, what does the gas prices look like? So I like this chart because you can see a direct correlation between when gas gets cheap. That's usually when people decide to mint.
Yep.
And this is made by yours truly, Crypto Sloth.
Sloth man.
So
That's
here
me.
he went ahead and and made me this historical Hedron minting velocity against Gwei. And you can see here, this is when Pulse goes live. You see this huge spike in minting, assuming people were trying to front run the fork potentially or use it for liquidity to do things on Pulsechain. And you also with gas fees. So as gas fees come down, I don't know, you could draw your own conclusions from this chart.
Yeah.
Obviously, you saw here this huge spike in gas fees from like 25 to Gwei to 74 Gwei, and then it came back down to 37. So somebody had took the liberty to mint a bunch, as it came down. So you can kind of look for that relationship there. And then you also get to see it against the price action, which I think is really fascinating. You get to see, as price changes, you get to see, look at all this minting happened as the price fell. So people do mint a lot more as price is falling to try to front run the sell off, stuff like that.
Yeah, check out lookintahedron.com. Got a bunch of other moon math calculators, etc. Hit me up on Twitter if you want to have a one-on-one. I'll schedule you out. Thanks for having us on, Axis. I think this is another successful episode.
All right, y'all. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Peace out.
Peace.